it has been almost 4 weeks.
4 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Since we have, since we had our twins, since we welcomed them into the world. They're just over here with us at the moment, having a little snooze. And the other kiddos are being entertained by My Little Pony on Netflix. So while we try and take a moment to make this video, we were planning on posting the birth video like as soon as they were born. But it didn't work out that way. So if we start from the beginning, it would go all the way back to, well, before, like, yeah, when they were conceived.
Yeah.
But for any of you guys that don't know, I had my tubes tied when I had the triplets, and then I had a surgery to reverse that in September 2019. So we found out we were pregnant in February, just before all the COVID stuff sort of started happening.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know how we would have felt about trying for a baby if, like, we didn't get pregnant that month, because
we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, because the next month, March, was sort of when everything started unfolding and people started buying all the toilet paper and all of that stuff. We obviously expected to have a singleton. I don't know if that's obviously what we expected, because we'd had triplets before, but we just assumed that wouldn't happen again. And we were planning on having a home birth, so I was really excited. I had already booked up a midwife, and since my last birth was a C-section, I had a cesarean with the triplets. I was hoping, that I'd have a VBAC home birth. So that was the plan. And then I guess it was in March when we went to our first ultrasound and saw two little babies. Which was mixed feelings for us, because obviously what a blessing, but also, like, I had this whole plan to have a home birth and a VBAC and all of that, so it sort of changed things a lot, I suppose. And not only that, but I had a scary pregnancy with the triplets. We had health complications, and they were born premature at 28 weeks, so multiples. So some people it's like a really fun, exciting thing, but to me it was just scary, because all I could think about was the idea of them being born premature and, you know, losing them and all of that sort of stuff. So it was scary, and it wasn't really an exciting thing to find out. But we sort of came around to the idea, and obviously from that point on we knew that we would be having a hospital birth, because home births for twins aren't really a thing in Australia. Midwives aren't really allowed to do them. So that was okay too. I thought, you know what, I'd have a VBAC in hospital. So that was our plan. It was to have a VBAC, or at least to try as hard as we could, because I know obviously these things don't always work out. I wasn't sure how supportive, you know, medical professionals would be of a VBAC with twins, but it turns out that it was fine. And we were at a smaller hospital, we were going through a smaller hospital for the pregnancy, and they were supportive of a VBAC for twins as long as they were head down, or at least baby A, as long as baby A was head down. And so, yeah, I think we had our first late scan, like our first third trimester scan, around 28 weeks, maybe it was about 27. Baby A was breech. And I knew I had lots of time for him to turn at that point, so I wasn't too concerned. But yeah, we started doing spinning babies and those sort of things to get baby to turn, and I started seeing a chiro, a Webster certified chiropractor. And yeah, so we were trying to get baby A to turn, thinking we had time and that he would turn, but as the weeks went on, he didn't turn. So he was still breech, and it's pretty funny actually, because his personality is still the same.
Yeah,
like,
just very chilled out.
Yeah, he's a lump. I call him a lump because he's just so chill, and he doesn't. Yeah, I can understand why he didn't want to move in there.
Yeah, maybe if it was her, she would have been.
Yeah, because she was transverse the whole pregnancy pretty much, but I remember sometimes her head would be on the opposite side, so she was at least flipping around in there a bit. Yes. So the smaller hospital that we were set to deliver at wasn't okay with doing a breech vaginal birth for twins with a VBAC. It was a lot of things. It was kind of, I guess it was a high risk birth.
Yeah.
So they referred me to the bigger hospital, the tertiary hospital, which was the same hospital the triplets were born at. It's where they sort of do all the high risk pregnancies and births and stuff. So I met with a consultant there, and you know, told them my plans to have the twins, to have a VBAC with the twins, even though baby A was breech. And they were on board with that. You know, like, it's obviously not really recommended. They would prefer that you have a C-section, but they were still supportive of it. So that was the plan. The only condition was that I had to go into labor on my own because it was a VBAC, and yeah, like, they can't induce you with the Pitocin, with the hormone drip, because it increases the chance of rupture, uterine rupture, I think. They were only going to be able to support me in the birth if I went into spontaneous labor. So I kind of thought that was pretty close to happening.
Yeah, because you were having like little contractions here and there, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I was sort of in prodromal labor or early labor, kind of, for like 4 weeks at that point. It had been going on for a while. I'd been having lots of bouts of contractions, like, and they weren't just weak ones either. They were quite strong and quite painful at times, and especially within the few days around the birth, I actually really thought I would be going into labor because they started getting quite strong and painful. So we were all on track for that, and we went in for a scan. I think it would have been at about, I guess it was just 37 weeks. And they had found that baby B's cord flow, it wasn't optimal.
Yeah.
It wasn't what they wanted to see, which meant that she was kind of struggling in there, which is what happened with Pearl, our first daughter, except obviously Pearl's was really severe and extreme and started a lot earlier in the pregnancy, and that's why we had to have them so early. Luckily with Sylvie, it was a lot later, and she was doing okay in there.
And like her growth kind of like slowed down a lot.
Oh yeah. So she was growth restricted, and
yeah, that's what they, like, it was diagnosed. Is that the right word? Yeah.
So she was always a bit smaller.
Yeah.
But she didn't get smaller, obviously. Her growth had slowed down. Yeah. So, and by that point, they were definitely recommending a C-section. They just thought it wasn't an emergency, but they said she'd do better on the outside. But my option, if I still wanted to have a natural birth, was to just wait and see and come in for a CTG, like, monitoring, you know, where they put the belly monitors and monitor their heart rate every day. So we decided to do that. And we'd sort of decided, you know, like, if they don't come on their own, we'll have a C-section. Yeah. But we really thought we were close. So we decided to go in every day for a CTG. So I went in for one of the CTGs. I was 37 weeks and 5 days. When I was having contractions during the CTG, it was showing that Sylvie, baby B, was sort of not really coping. Yeah. Her heart rate wasn't doing what they wanted it to do. And they basically said that she wasn't going to cope through labor, and again they were recommending a C-section.
Yeah. And was it partly because she was twin B, like, because Cosmo had to come out first?
Yeah, so if she was a singleton and it was, or if she was a twin but twin A, and she had the growth restriction, the cord flow problems, it would have been like okay to still try, at least to try labor. But since if I went into labor naturally, Cosmo would have to come out first. I'd have to be in labor. I'd have to birth a whole baby, a breech one, and then she was transverse. She would have to turn down and be born. And cope with labor, and it was just a lot. It was getting to be a lot. There was a lot of things. It was a VBAC, we had a breech twin A, we had a transverse twin B, we had a growth restricted twin B. I wasn't going into labor on my own, and it was a lot. So the doctors talked to me again that day, and they said, you know, like, you should probably have them today. And it was really hard to come to that, to accept it, I suppose. But we knew it was what was right for the babies. It felt right for both of us to make that decision. Yeah, it felt like the right time. It felt like it was time to give up. I know, like, that's not really how I think of it, but not give up,
but
give in, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. One reason I really didn't want to have a C-section for the twins was because when I had the triplets, I had a bit of a traumatic C-section where after they were born, I started feeling a lot of pain, and I had to be put under general, and be put to sleep, and that was pretty hard. I think feeling pain in surgery is probably a lot of people's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So that was scary, and I was really scared and terrified of having another C-section because I didn't want to go through that again. And so much to the point that I didn't know if I should even just go into general straight away for the twins to be born. That was an option that we talked about. And the reason we didn't want to do that was because, well, then I obviously wouldn't get to be there for the birth, and you wouldn't get to be there. Yeah, so it would be pretty sad.
Yeah.
So I just decided to obviously go for the epidural and spinal. I think it was like a combination, is what they said.
Because they wanted to make sure that it didn't happen again.
And they were so supportive, and they did everything
really
to make
nice.
me as comfortable as possible and to reassure me that everything was going to be okay. It was just my fears that were making me feel scared. The whole time being prepped for the surgery, I was shaking and crying, and I was terrified.
There wasn't much time to prepare for the surgery between when you decided to have the C-section.
When we found out, I was absolutely terrified. It was not really like a happy time. Like we were just about to meet our babies, but I just couldn't focus on that.
Yeah, you're more focused on.
I was terrified. I didn't even know how to be there at that time, like how to be present in that moment because I was so terrified. So in surgery at 4:34 p.m, little Cosmo was born, and when they showed him to us, I mean, a lot of my fears definitely washed away at that moment. To see our beautiful little boy. And it felt like a lifetime between him coming out and Sylvie. There was only 3 minutes.
It felt like at least 10.
I think it was a bit difficult for them to get her because she was so far up. But then she was born at 4:37, and she looked so much smaller than he did. And because obviously we expected that, but we didn't know by how much. After they were born, they needed to go to get checked over, like by all the pediatricians and everything. And they ended up being taken to special care, didn't they?
Yeah, and I went down with them.
Yeah, so Ro left, and that was just all that had to happen.
Said goodbye to you.
Say goodbye. They had to deliver my placentas and stitch me back up. And I guess that's when it all sort of started going downhill. I think my uterus wasn't contracting, and the placenta wouldn't come out. And I bled a lot, so I had a 2.5 litre hemorrhage. It was pretty scary. After Ro had gone, I mean, the whole thing is a bit of a blur. I feel like I was in and out of consciousness for the whole time, and the rest of the surgery took a couple of hours for them to control the bleeding and all of that. And I was being poked and prodded all up my arms, and I had bruises all over my arms afterwards from all of the, I think, medicines and stuff they had to give me. And I feel like I was like in and out of consciousness. I didn't 100% know what was going on, and I started feeling pain just like I did with the triplets because it had been so long, like the surgery had been going on for so long that the pain relief wasn't, as effective as it was in the beginning. So it was really hard. They had to put a balloon, like insert a balloon into my uterus, and lots of packing, to control the bleeding. And I definitely would say that it felt like a traumatic experience. Honestly, a lot of it is a blur. Like, it's hard to even really explain the story. Even after it, I don't exactly know the series of events in the right order. I know that...
Well, I didn't know what was happening to you for like 2 hours or something, like, because they couldn't tell me because you were still in surgery. Because obviously they didn't know. Like...
Yeah, and you said that was pretty scary.
Yeah, I was just
He thought I was
Really?
gonna die.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was gonna die, honestly. Like, I asked the surgeons in surgery if I was gonna die. Yeah, it was pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, after a few hours, we got to see each other again. We didn't have the babies at that point with us because they were still in the nursery. Yeah, I didn't think they'd get to come up to the room with me until the next day, but they brought up Cosmo for us, and I got to hold him for the first time, and yeah, just meet him. And he was absolutely perfect. I'm just looking at him right now, thinking about how perfect and beautiful he is. And after Cosmo came up, we didn't think we'd see Sylvie again until the next day. So we were really happy that we got to do that together. And yeah, be a family. Well, I was gonna say a family of 4. No, just for a second. So we got to see both the babies, and that was a really nice way to end a hard day.
Yes.
A big day, I should say. Not so much a hard day, because you know, it was a really special day. It was really special that we got to, that it was the, you know, the birthday of our babies. And yeah, obviously getting to meet our babies, you know, it makes it a lot easier, all of the birth stuff.
Yeah, it makes everything worth it.
It does. I mean, I think having a bad birth experience, it can be really hard and traumatic. But we know that we are so lucky to have our babies.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, like, I mean...
And so thankful that they didn't come really early.
Yeah, like, I'm so thankful that I got to carry them till 37 weeks and 5 days. And they came perfectly healthy, and they came out safe, and I'm alive, and I'm okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, like, it took me a couple of weeks to sort of get over the initial shock of everything that happened.
Well, that's probably another reason why this video...
I think so, because every time I thought about the birth, I would cry.
Yeah.
Like, because it was so hard for me to process. I was still processing it, I suppose. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for their birth story. I feel like I've probably left out a lot of important details, but we're just going to leave it there. I hope you guys liked the video. And we're so excited to watch the twins grow. I mean, they're already 4 weeks old tomorrow, and they've already grown and changed so much, and it's been so wonderful. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.